All right, today we're jumping into a really high-stakes debate, one that gets right to the heart of Japan's modern identity.
And it really all boils down to this fundamental choice. Does Japan radically beef up its military to fend off new threats, or does it go all in on diplomacy to build trust in what is, let's face it, a pretty volatile region? So, to really get to the bottom of this, we're going to break down the arguments from an actual formal debate on this exact topic. We'll look at the core logic from both sides, where their ideas clash, and, you guessed it, what the final verdict was on how Japan should move forward. Okay, so first things first. Why is this debate happening right now? What's the big rush? Well, the short answer is the world has changed. A lot. And the whole strategic map of East Asia, it's been completely redrawn.
I mean, Japan is staring down a security situation that some experts are calling the most complex since the Cold War. Seriously, think about it. You've got rapid missile development happening right next door. You have threats that aren't just on land or sea, but in cyberspace and even outer space now. And on top of all that, you have this intense competition between the major world powers, and it's all heating up right there in the neighborhood. It's like the old rulebook is being tossed out the window in real time.
And that new reality, it brings us right to the first side of the debate. This is the argument that says Japan absolutely has to fundamentally strengthen its defense capabilities. They see it as a matter of survival, plain and simple.
Their whole case really rests on three main pillars. First, just responding directly to that security environment we just talked about. Second, the idea is to be a stronger, more capable partner in the US-Japan alliance. And third, and this is an interesting one, they frame all this defense spending as a powerful engine for Japan's own technology and industry.
And to back this up, they point to some pretty stark numbers. Look at this. China's defense budget is something like 5 times bigger than Japan's. At the same time, you've got North Korea pushing ahead with its nuclear and even hypersonic weapons. So from their point of view, if you stand still, you're not just standing still, you're falling dangerously behind.
And this right here, this really gets to the core of their philosophy. The whole argument is that having a powerful military isn't about looking for a fight. Nope. It's about making the cost of starting a fight so incredibly high that nobody would even think about it. It all comes down to one word: deterrence.
Okay, but what about the other side of the argument? Well, the folks on the negative side of the debate, they see this path as not just super expensive, but as something that could actually make the security situation even worse. Their argument boils down to three major concerns. 1, the risk of kicking off a regional arms race. 2, the huge financial hit this would be for social services. And 3, the fact that it might undermine Japan's famous post-war peace constitution.
Let's dig into that first point, because it's based on a classic idea called the security dilemma. Here's the fear. What Japan sees as just a defensive move, building up its shields, its neighbors might see as an offensive threat, like sharpening a sword. And what happens then? Well, they might feel forced to build up their militaries in response, and suddenly you're in this vicious cycle of escalation where, ironically, everyone ends up feeling less safe.
And then there's the money. The price tag is just staggering. To hit that goal of spending 2% of GDP on defense, we're talking about an annual cost of around 15 trillion yen. I mean, that is a massive number. To put it in perspective, that's second only to the entire country's social security budget. So the question the negative side keeps asking is a simple one. What gets cut to pay for all this?
So here's their alternative vision. It's not about peace through strength. Instead, they're pushing for a peace that's built on diplomacy, on economic ties, and on mutual trust. It's just a completely different way of looking at national security.
All right, so we've got two totally different visions for the future on the table. Let's get into the good stuff and see exactly where these arguments clash head-to-head.
The first big point of friction is about the very meaning of security. I mean, does a bigger military actually make you safer? The affirmative side says, absolutely, yes, through deterrent. But the negative side says no way, because what one country calls a shield, another might see as a sword. And that's what could provoke this dangerous spiral of military buildups we talked about.
Next up, let's talk about the money again. Is all this spending a smart, high-tech investment that's going to spark innovation in AI and cyber for the whole economy? Or is it just a massive social burden that siphons money away from things we all need, like healthcare, education, and taking care of the elderly?
And finally, the debate hits the very foundation of Japan's post-war identity, its constitution.
We're talking about Article 9, which was put in place after World War II and basically renounces war. Now, the pro-strengthening side argues that things like counterstrike capabilities are just a necessary modern update to self-defense. But the other side, they see this as a really dangerous step, one that blurs the line into preemptive attacks and chips away at the whole spirit of that peace constitution.
So you've got these incredibly powerful, principled arguments on both sides of the aisle. The big question is, how did the judge actually rule in this formal debate?
Well, the verdict was decisive. The judge gave the win to the negative side. That's the side that argued against the major military buildup.
So why did they win? The judge's reasoning really came down to three key things. First, they felt the negative side just used stronger, more concrete data, especially when it came to the financial arguments. Second, they kept a calm, rational tone, even when things got heated. And third, and this is crucial, they successfully argued for a more holistic view of security, one that wasn't just about military strategy, but also included finance, diplomacy, and the law.
But in the end, the moderator made a really great point. Beyond who won or lost, the real victory here was just having a rational, fact-based conversation about one of the toughest questions a country can ever face.
And that really leaves all of us with a final huge question to think about. When you're facing all these new and complex threats, what really is the true price of peace?